Hey,
Looks a little fuzzy.
it does look a little fuzzy.
I almost said furry.
Uh, let's see if it fixes itself. Hey, everybody. If you're here watching us live, we're just trying to work through a few technical issues.
Difficulties.
Yeah. Um,
Hides the wrinkles and the gray hair.
that's true. Yeah.
Because you don't mind it.
Yeah. You know what? I always thought that. Like news anchors, people like that, they have to hate HD. You know. And people who do sets. I heard that a lot of sets back in the day before HD used to be held together with duct tape and things that cameras couldn't pick up, and obviously now you can't get away with that stuff. So
What do you mean duct tape?
they would like use duct tapes on like a TV set, and the camera wouldn't pick up the duct tape. You'd never know it was there.
Oh, I see.
And now with like HD cameras, every detail is picked up, and so
So do you think they wear less makeup?
I think they wear more makeup. They would have to, right? Like to you're
I'm thinking like if you wear less makeup, you don't look like with the HD. The HD's picking everything up. If I would
Yeah.
say use less makeup because if not, it's gonna pick up the thickness.
But
I like my mother going to bingo.
I'd be I'd be willing to bet they wear more makeup for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Eyelashes are a thing.
Would you wear makeup for these AMA videos? Would you ever consider it?
I am.
All right.
There you go. That's why I was wondering about the eyelashes. I was going to ask you, would you wear the eyelashes?
Yeah, sure.
Do they do top and bottom, or is it just on the tops?
For guys, I don't know. I'm not
Right.
sure. Yeah.
We got a good show.
Okay.
We got some good questions. We're not going to do the old service dog one. Thank goodness with that. That I feel like the whole service
Oh.
dog questions for like the last 2 months
Right.
been getting a little out of hand here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is one about a pet, so I figured kind of keep it in there, and we'll ease out of the whole service dog thing.
Cool. Okay.
Kind of go from there.
All right.
And then Josh, our marketing guru guy, hooked everybody up in the community and wanted me to throw this out there real quick that right now we have, I guess, a partnership going on with PPG paint stores.
Oh yeah.
So with PPG paint stores, the deal is 40-60% off of liquid paint and stain, and then 15% off supplies at the PPG store. So you got to physically go into the PPG store, and to actually get directions or on how to actually use the discount. It says here the discounts for how to do this are pinned at the top of our Facebook group.
Cool.
So go to the Facebook group. It's pinned to the top on how to do this. And then also he said with Home Depot locations too.
Nice.
So if you don't have a PPG store near you, but you have a Home Depot near you, you still get a discount. It says here the deal is 20% off liquid paint and stains with gold tier pricing at Home Depot stores. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
A lot of landlords do a lot of painting. I know probably after every move out, you might want to put a fresh coat on from time to time, and that stuff can get expensive.
Yeah. And
Liquid paints, is there non-liquid paints?
uh
Or is that just Josh writing in there so that everybody...
I guess.
Is there dry paint?
Yeah, I don't know. Solid paints.
Finger paints?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I do know that the Sherwin-Williams discount. A lot of people use that, so it's awesome to continue to give those type of discounts. And,
Yeah. Josh just
value.
bought a house. He wants to have a paint party. And want to also me to throw that out there if you're in the area and you pick up a color paint. He said you can pick out whatever color you like and just pick a
Oh.
room. So he kind of wants to go real colorful with that. If you're interested in that, just throw your name in the comments here, and I don't know. We'll see what happens with it.
That might be the only way that I would consider, like, because I feel like I'm past the point of helping paint and things like that. Like, I've done it, you get to a certain age and your buddies ask you, like, hey, can you help me move? And you're like, can't you just get a moving company, man?
Right. My back.
Yeah, like, come on.
My neck.
Yeah.
My back. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Or that's why you don't get truck. That's why I got rid of my truck.
yeah.
I had a nice truck, and
You end up becoming everyone's
the
mover.
local mover.
Yeah,
I got a
exactly.
mattress. Hey, can you run to the depot with me? We got to get some mulch.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, I'm doing the mulch in the yard.
That's right. Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah,
enough's enough already.
Yeah,
man.
I completely understand why you had to get rid of that truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I walk to work. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to start out with a couple questions from the Facebook group, and then we have some general questions that people will type in when the newsletter and things like that go out. Gives you an opportunity to kind of get ahead of the game. As far as anybody that's watching live right now, feel free to put any questions in the comment section. We will get to those as well. We also have moderators in the group right now that if there's any questions regarding templates or anything like that that you need, we'll make sure we throw those in there. Oh Jesus, I hit the wrong button.
So I just want to Mina Elba is asking a question first in the comments, and I just wanted to hello Mina first off, and I just wanted to answer this one because it jumped out at me, and I know we'll get to the previously submitted ones or the people who submitted them ahead of time.
The Facebook group too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Mina says a tenant wants to remodel the kitchen and bathroom at his own expense, including buying all the materials.
Man.
What legal paperwork should I put in place? I would caution.
Oh yeah.
I would caution against this. Look at both scenarios. If it goes perfect and it goes well, a tenant paid for the remodel and paid for the materials and did really good work.
Sure.
That's best case scenario. Mm-hmm. Do they feel like you owe them anything, or are they going to be a super long-term tenant and that's why they're doing this?
Sure.
Let's look at it if, on the flip side, it goes really horribly wrong.
I mean, I said I could, I remodeled my bathroom. I called a buddy over, my buddy Skittles.
Yeah.
And I said it'd probably only take us maybe half a day. Yeah.
Wrong, right?
Yeah.
Well,
3 days later, working 12-hour shifts, and
yeah,
everything's a little bit that way.
Yeah.
It looks like you're walking into an Alice in Wonderland bathroom. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, I feel like there's some real risks to doing this. Number one, if the work isn't done
correctly,
you
could have more problems in the future.
Yeah, and
plumbing, anything, they don't do the plumbing the right way. What if this guy does the plumbing and all of a sudden a pipe bursts because he didn't put enough glue on or something like that, and then he calls you and says, "Hey man, I got water damage, I got mold in here," so I wouldn't play around with that.
Yeah, it makes me nervous. I would say.
Thank you for the gesture.
Yeah.
You probably do great work. Just not in this place.
Yeah. I would say, is it is this person just happens to be handy, or do they actually professionally remodel bathrooms, and this is what they do for a living, and they're like, hey, I'd love to do it.
Right.
And in that case, maybe you want to contract them to do it, but I'd be very cautious about giving them control over what materials and how the work is being done, and then B, I'd also be concerned about what does this mean for the tenant-landlord relationship. What do you owe them?
Yeah, there's going to be some entitlement there if they come into, problems with their job and they're like, listen, I lost my job or times are tough, but I remodeled your bathroom. I was wondering if maybe you can help me out now. Yeah, you don't want to get into that tit for tat. If he wants to help out, tell him start cutting the grass. Start there, baby steps.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would say.
See how he does the patterns in the grass. That'll tell you right there if the guy can even paint.
Yeah, if he does this professionally, or he's just a really handy person or anything like that, maybe ask like, hey, let me see the work, but then
I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah,
it's just like it's almost like opening up Pandora's box.
I agree.
What, you saying I don't do good work?
Right, but I would say at the very least it needs to be a professional.
Yeah, there's that line.
It needs to be a professional agreement between the two. It can't be like, hey, I'm living here, I'm going to do it.
Sure,
that's tough. It's tough. Yeah. So my suggestion, Mina, is try to avoid it, but if you're even considering it. You want to have at least, and I wouldn't worry about overthinking the legal verbiage and the words, that you just make it real plain language on an agreement. Hey, I'll buy the material. There's nothing in return, or here's what you get in return, or here's what I'm going to pay you, or whatever. But just be really clear about whatever your intentions are. But obviously, we're cautioning you to, consider having it done professionally or doing it yourself versus letting them do it if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You just lost a tenant too.
Yep.
So, all right.
Cool. And then it looks like they put the PPG thing up there.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
What do you got?
All right. So Cassandra asks, she said, "Hi, submitting my first Zillow posting. I am getting a ton of inquiries and I'm wondering how you personally pre-screen before showing an apartment. Currently, I'm asking if they smoke and what kinds of pets they have. Non-smoking, no pet apartment. What else do you recommend?" I came up with a list of stuff, but my questions are always, I always get the same response from you of, ooh, yeah, hold on a second, let's pump the brakes on that one, or like, ooh, no. But
All right, we'll do it.
we're gonna go through my questions,
Yeah.
what I ask people.
All right, let's do it.
So my first question then would, or after, do you smoke? Do you have any kids? How long have you been at your last apartment? Why are you leaving the apartment? How was communication between you and the landlord conducted? What are your expectations for me as a landlord? What's the best way to communicate with you throughout the leasing period? Phone, email, snail mail? And then this is where I get into the strategic questions.
Okay, I was waiting. I was like, "Where's the catch?" These are
good questions, right?
These are good questions.
These are my pre-screen. Is there anything you'd like to discuss prior to me running a background check? This is an integrity check, people.
Yeah.
They might say, "Well, I may." Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Versus, no, everything looks good, and then all of a sudden you come back and this guy's been spray painting, graffiti and got caught and shoplifting and all this other crazy jazz. How long have you been at your current job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I've been there 2 months. Whoa.
Yeah. How long you been an employee? Yeah.
How long were you at the other place?
Yeah.
What's happening there? I would explain how the background, or like what the background check and what the income verification process is, which is something that we offer that I want to get into later on, because I've been getting a ton of phone calls and emails on this product, and I think we need to educate a little bit more on, again, how it works, why it's important. But yeah,
Okay.
I would go over something like that. I'd ask if they see any issues with the process of how I conduct my background checks, how I communicate with my tenants, how often I plan on coming into the residence, which would be in the lease, to do inspections or to change out the air filters and things like that. And then one of the last ones here says, how quickly are you looking to make the move? And the reason why I want to ask this question is because if they say as soon as possible, that is a flag for me versus an exact date. Why? Because if they have an exact date, that tells me that they've given their current landlord at least proper notice. Versus right away, as soon as I can. What do you mean as soon as you can? What's going on with this last guy? So those are the questions that I like to ask A through J.
Okay. First off, surprisingly, nothing crazy in there.
Right. I try to keep it good this time. Put a lot of thought.
They're all good questions. I would say, I just helped my sister fill one of her rentals, and they did need to move in right away, but it was because they were living with a parent because the other parent passed away unexpectedly. So they had moved in with the parent the living parent to help, help everything kind of switch over and change over, and so sometimes there might be a weird circumstance or specific circumstance or whatever, but something out of the ordinary, not weird, but out of the ordinary. So, and I know what, my sister had dealt with this too. She put it on Facebook Marketplace and the listing, and had I'm not exaggerating, 2,000 responses. So how do you handle 2,000 responses?
Right.
She's in an area where it's a really good school district.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just kind of it fit the bill perfectly. It was like the perfect storm, right? Reasonably priced, a really good school district, and so she just gets flooded. What we ended up doing was trying to find a way to allow applicants to sort of self-select themselves out, right?
Okay.
Real simple Google form, a pre-screening questionnaire.
Yeah.
If you're not super savvy with Google Forms, just fire off an email. So if somebody's interested, before you do a showing, before you waste your time going there and showing them, a place, I would communicate through email or say, give me your email, I'm going to send you one, and have a pre-screening questionnaire in there. And, obviously we cover a lot of the stuff that you covered.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to be super specific. So, like, for example, you said the income.
Yeah.
So in a pre-screening questionnaire, it would say, like,
Will you consent?
Well, no, I would be specific and say, the rent-to-income ratio that I'm looking for minimum is
XYZ.
Yeah, 1 to 3.
Gotcha.
And do you meet this criteria?
Right.
You don't have to ask them what's your income at this point, because they'll answer all that when they go through the application process. But
sure,
at this point, you're just basically saying, here's my criteria. Do you fit it?
Yeah.
If not, please don't waste my time. I don't want to waste yours.
Gotcha.
So that's, people are getting, I'm hearing this a lot. People are getting inundated right now with, because the market's
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's backwards. There's more renters than there are, available units. So,
I see this increasing now that the interest rates have now gone up. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of our young bucks here at the office that are looking for homes are now, before they were getting outbid. Now it's like, man, the bidding war kind of tinkered down a little bit, but now the interest rates are going up, and now everybody's anticipating a ridiculous interest rate, and this could be a renter's paradise here.
Yeah, the housing market's real strange right now.
Everything is nuts.
It's going to be weird for the next couple of years for sure.
I told my brother, you should buy some property, and just get one of those metal containers and just convert it.
That's a great idea.
You know what I mean? They sell them for like $2,000.
Yeah.
I did my bathroom, so I could probably help him out with some stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
You guys would come up with something awesome.
It really looks sweet. All right. So, Cassandra, I hope that answers your question. I hope you're watching this. I know that Josh, I asked him, I says, if you pulled some questions from the Facebook group, do you reach out to those individuals and say, hey, your question is going to be live on the AMAs? He said, yeah. So, I think it's a pretty cool idea that they do that. So, everybody that we answer here, they got an email sent out to them.
Cool. Okay.
Or not an email, some type of message. I'm not sure how Josh does it. Smoke screen or smoke signals, whatever he does. But next question is from Katie. So Katie's from Minnesota, and she says the neighbors have called and filed excessive dog barking noise. Today, the city official called us and said that that he sent a letter to the home about the excessive dog barking. Per city ordinance, noise should not exceed 5 minutes. The lease, in caps, does not allow any pets. Tenant claimed that in February of 2022, she was watching a friend's dog. Today, she says she was watching her dad's dog.
Nope.
She claims he's in the hospital. I text her asking for pictures of the dog. I drove to the property to check the situation out. She was about to head out with the dog. I spoke to one of the neighbors who said that they have been hearing barking from a dog for the last 3 weeks now. I want to amend the lease to add a pet deposit and additional rent per pet, but the excessive barking worries us that the problem will stay at home. The tenant claims she has a bark collar, but she didn't use it today. The city will issue a fine if the violation continues, so we certainly want to avoid complications. Advice on how to remedy her lease is signed, though. And I put down, I'm like, the first thing I saw was just boom, violation of lease.
100%, yes.
Violation of lease. Don't amend it if you already know that the animal is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Why are you going to amend a lease and say, well, we got to fix your lease for your barking dog?
Yeah.
You had a trial run with this thing.
Integrity violation.
Integrity violator. So explain why you have a no pets policy. And reiterate that they have, you've received letters and complaints from the neighbors, and you're in violation of your lease. I don't care whose dog you're watching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go to the house, and say, hey, I'll take care of your dog. I'll go to the house. I'll let him out. I'll hang out at the house for a little bit. Why do I got to go to your house?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
got fired up with this one. I don't know why.
Well, and I agree with you. And you'd put it in our enterprise newsletter. I don't remember the exact number, but there was a number on there.
20% of people, because Ashley said she was one of them. She did. She just told me yesterday. She goes, huh, I like your stats. So 20% of people sneak their pets into their apartments.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm one of those 20%.
Yeah.
I say, get up and go leave right now. Get out.
So, yeah, that to me is addressing the wrong issue. If you're saying, okay, you lied and you got a dog,
We want to
and now we're gonna fix the
pet
lease.
deposit.
Yeah.
At that point, I mean, I understand she wants to get some money for this, but again, you start doing that, now you have to accept the dog.
Yeah,
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, you said you didn't want pets.
Why?
It was in the lease.
You put it in the lease.
I also feel like you're, you know, you gotta send the right message.
Right.
If you're flexible on this, you know, is that how you're going to be as a landlord?
Right.
Oh, there's rules, but but I have to break them and then we'll fix the rules.
Then we'll fix the rules.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got a problem with this one too. I gotta say.
Yeah. Violation of lease. That's it. Plain. Just cut it dry.
If you're being nice.
Say, listen, I'm not going to kick you out. But
Yeah.
That's being nice.
That's being nice.
The dog's got to go.
Yeah, being nice is, listen, the dog's got to go. You get to stay. This is your warning.
That's it.
It cannot happen again.
Right.
And I would even say, if you're being reasonable, you end the lease and say, we're done.
Yeah.
I listen, I can't trust you.
Right.
You know, you signed an agreement saying that you wouldn't have pets.
Sure.
The animals are here. So I agree with you on this. I wouldn't bend on this one as a landlord.
Sure. All right. Let's go into there was a good one in here that I liked. Yeah. So this kind of it's a good segue from the last one. You know, sneaking a pet in.
Okay.
You know, in a sense, she's a little sneaky.
Yeah.
That was being sneaky.
Yeah, it was.
So this question is from Kimberly, again in our Facebook group. Her tenant is sneaking into boyfriend, and now he's living there.
Oh.
So here we go. So, question for Kimberly says, I have a young lady who has rented for the past 4 years from us.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, that tells me good tenant.
Yeah, long-term tenant.
Yeah. She has moved in with her boyfriend. Or I'm assuming she's saying she's moved her boyfriend in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I asked about it and she mentioned she didn't think it was a problem since she is paying and will continue to pay. So the boyfriend moved in.
Yep.
This young lady's like, don't worry about it. I'm still paying her. I didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
I didn't think it was a big deal to watch my dad's dog who's barking all day long.
Right.
Okay. Told her about the legalities and that he will need to be added he would need to be added and rent is going up.
And you should be running a background check.
That's where you're
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Just listen.
All right, sorry.
Hydrate, will you?
All right.
She wants to keep control of things and pay. And then she put in here in quotes, bad past marriage. Everybody needed to know about that. This is why this girl wants to keep control. Which I get. I told her I don't care how they work it out, but he needs to be on there one way or another. Have you heard of doing something like this as a roommate addendum, or would this be like subletting and she's in control of when and if he goes? So my answer, run a background check on this individual first. Mm-hmm. At least a criminal/sex offender check, at the very least. Mm-hmm. Okay? If everything clears, then consider an addendum to include this person on the lease. You need to cover your bases. And this is I'm thinking about putting this on the next landlord coffee mug. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The only person in control of who is living on your property should be you.
Meaning the landlord.
Meaning the landlord. I'm talking to Kimberly right now.
Yeah.
Because she put in the last line there,
Yeah.
or subletting, and she's in control of one. Nobody controls what's going on your property except for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? The only person in control of who's living on your property should be you.
Should be you.
Probably go all the way around.
Yeah.
You'd have to spin the cup a little bit and be like, that's a great saying. Yeah. Handle the handle. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, first off, I would say don't overcomplicate it with thinking about, like, should this be a subletting lease?
Right.
You're adding an occupant to the existing lease.
Sure.
And if the occupant's over 18, they should have a background check ran on them.
Yep.
And, and then also in your lease agreement, you should make sure you've got clear language in your lease agreement about, any occupant over 18 must be added to a lease. And then you also want to have language in there about defining what a long-term guest is, because it wasn't an issue with her, but I've heard this for years and years, right? Like, no, he's not living here.
Right.
My boyfriend, he stays over. He's not living here.
Right.
So he doesn't need to be added to the lease. Clearly, he's living there, or he's there all the time.
Sure.
So the usual rule of thumb standard is 3 weeks. Anything over 3 weeks for a long-term guest, you're now an occupant, and they need to be added to the lease.
I got you.
And so, don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to think about subletting and structuring it that way. It's just, think if this is going to sound weird as a comparison, but think if this was her son.
Okay.
And it was an adult.
Okay.
Right? It's an occupant.
Sure.
You add them to the lease
Right.
so that the landlord has control, right? Of like, hey, listen, this guy's a violent criminal or sex offender.
Sure.
He can't live here. So the landlord does need to have that control. So your coffee mug is correct. The only person in charge and control the property is you,
the landlord.
But yeah, in this case, you're just adding an occupant, and make sure your lease has language in there that says, any occupant over the age of 18 must be approved, have a background check ran.
Yep.
But don't overcomplicate it with the subletting and stuff like that.
Sure.
Unnecessary.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Nancy. Nancy has a question. Let's see here. Okay, Nancy. Has anyone put a death clause into their lease? My 90-year-old mother owns the home, and we are changing tenants, but want to be able to sell in the event of her death. The house is in California. The property taxes will go up from $1,800 a year to $30,000 a year after she dies.
Yep.
I don't understand that. I'd appreciate any specific lingo for the unusual request. Nobody wants to start a month-to-month because they are renting for the good schools. We want to be able to give a 90-day notice and then and get them out. Help.
Yeah. So my suggestion is look at short-term leases.
Yeah.
Traveling nurses, corporate housing.
Airbnb.
Yep, Airbnb.
What about student housing? What do you think about that? Like students coming out.
Yeah, like I'd be picky, right? Like
you're only going semester to semester.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would pick, but I'm saying like picky, like graduate students, or you know what I mean, like
sure.
Just be careful. You're not renting to a fraternity, and it ends up becoming the.
What's that movie? Neighbors.
The Animal House. Yeah, Neighbors. Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, you don't want Zac Efron moving in with a fraternity.
He's a god.
Yeah.
You see him in Baywatch?
No.
I did.
I saw the commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
He does that to people to do exactly.
I know. I'm picturing
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron running.
Favorite movie, 17 again.
Okay.
Remember that movie?
It was like a body switch movie, right?
Not a body switch. He went back down to his 17-year-old.
Oh, okay.
It was still him.
Okay.
There wasn't a swap. It was like the movie Big, but opposite.
Ah, okay. I've never seen that.
You've never seen 17 again?
No. Should we watch it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love for that for, I would definitely do it for, like a couple days. It's like everything you know now.
Yeah.
And then you go back to your 17-year-old self again. You look like you're 17, and then,
I feel like a lot of landlords would want to do that. Not to go back to 17, but a lot of landlords would, landlording is one of those things where, there's no shortcuts to experience, right? You can listen to other people and take their advice, but at the end of the day, you're.
What age would you want to go back to for 1 week?
That's a great question.
Probably 22, because you still go for that week. You go out and drink and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
What would you do?
Early 20s. Push-ups. What else?
Look at myself in the mirror again and say, "You got to get back to this."
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back into this. Traveling nurses, corporate housing, Airbnb. Be selective on, if you want to do students. Just you want to find that short-term niche tenant.
Yeah, this is a tough one because, how weird is it going to be if you move a tenant in and you're like, hey, just so you know,
She's close.
She's close. She's 90.
She's knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah, she's 90. So you're rolling the dice here on how long you think that you're going to be in here.
Right.
Yeah, and California is tricky because you gotta find that balance between temporary and permanent occupancy at that 30-day mark as well for short term. So and it may be a lot harder to get somebody out. And man, nothing will jam up the sale of a home like a pending eviction process.
Right.
So,
what about moving mom into that house? She owns it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I would say, they're probably making, they're earning income.
Earn some income.
Yeah, paying for it or whatever.
Sure.
But
or why don't they just sell it now after these tenants leave?
Yeah.
Why even bother trying to get people?
Or sell it with the tenants. I mean, that's not crazy.
Right.
Sell it with the tenants,
or sell it now before anything happens.
Yeah.
And kind of get ahead of it.
Yeah. Or you add like a right to first refusal clause to the tenant when they sign and say, listen, when we sell, when my mom passes and we're going to sell the place, we'll give you first shot to buy it if you want. If you don't want to buy it, we're going to sell it.
Sure.
And then you're going to have X amount of days to vacate the property. That's being pretty fair, saying...
I like that. Going to the current tenant saying, hey, are you considering looking for a house, buying a house? We'll work with you here. We got some time. You're already in the place.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you get somebody new, explain the situation and, maybe they would be interested. But the key piece there is how the taxes are going to skyrocket. It is crazy that's happening.
How does that... I don't understand how that works. Why is it at 18 but it's going to go to 30?
So for so long, we're in New York where you just get crushed in taxes. And we would hear all the time people be like, I live here and, we pay $1,000 a year for taxes, which we would, from New York, we're like, that's crazy for property taxes. That's nuts. The tax, the basis of property taxes was totally different and is different still from state to state. But California had this, sort of a, it is what it is, and it doesn't go up until you sell the property, and then it's based on the sale price of that property.
Oh, I see.
And so in New York, you were getting like for a while there was like an assessed value, which was a significantly less value than what you would have sold or bought the house for. So you're paying less taxes because it's on a lesser value.
Right.
So in California, they're paying taxes on the sale value, and with the market being up and the taxes are just going through the roof. So
I got you.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Bad situation.
That's tough. All right, Amy. This is I marked this as a slippery slope question.
Oh, I like these.
You like the slippery slopes?
Yeah.
All right, Amy asks, I have a tenant that has been in one of my properties for 2 years. Great tenants. They currently pay $1,400 a month. They are up for renewal and want to stay, which I'm very happy about. I had my realtor run comps for the area, which indicated I could charge $2,200. The area has improved greatly in 2 years. I'm trying to decide what to charge. I'm curious what you would charge for rent. I have nothing in my lease about how much I can charge. Before running comps, I was thinking to add $100. Should I stick with $1,500 or go higher? And I put down the slip. This is kind of a slippery slope because the majority, of states, they don't regulate how much you can raise the rent. They just regulate on if you raise it a certain percentage, how you have to notify the tenant. But again, this comes down to, listen, you got a great tenant, and this is a communication question, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Say, listen, you've been here 2 years. Really appreciate everything. You've been great. You have to understand though that things are changing here. There's going to be increases. I know they weren't specific in the lease. I think it's how you present it, because what you don't want to do is say, hey, nice to have you. I know you paid $1,400. Now it's $2,200 because that's what my realtor said. Realtor, and I got realtor friends. But I don't know. When it comes to this, like, hey, man, you should be charging this. you don't want to lose a great tenant over some money. I mean, if your taxes and your mortgage is being covered and you're making a little extra money on top of that, kind of be happy. You can raise it a little, 5%, I guess, 3 to 5%, but I really wouldn't consider going any higher than that without the risk of losing. You're going to lose a good tenant. I mean,
well, I would.
Know. Are good tenants hard to find?
Good tenants are hard to find.
That's a T-shirt.
That's a T-shirt. Good tenants are hard to find, but there's also a value there, right? Like you turn a tenant over. We've talked about this before. The average cost to turn a property over. All right, so you take that and add that into a lease, and it doesn't take long to do some math and realize if you got a good long-term tenant, you're winning in the long run if they're getting a deal. So I would say, like you said, good communication. You go to them and you say, listen, you're getting a good deal on this. You've been here for 2 years. I want to keep you.
Sure.
I could be getting $2,200 a month. I'm not going to do that. And I think it's important to outline exactly what the plan is to raise. So usually, it's usually 3% increase a year or whatever.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but and you made a good point. As long as you're cash flowing, don't rock the boat and knock a good tenant out, and now you're gonna be stuck.
Right.
At least for a while. So yeah,
she's at $1,400 right now. You figure 10% is $140. 5% would be half of that, so you're looking at $70. So, you're looking to raise it like 7.5% almost on them.
Yeah.
$100. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
I think it's reasonable.
Yeah. Again, good communication and say, listen, I know you're getting a good deal. You're getting a good deal.
I would say I know I'm getting a good deal with having you in here. Everybody's getting a good deal.
Yeah. I'm winning. You're winning.
Right.
Let's keep this going as long as.
But I need an extra $100.
Yeah, I need an extra $100 a month. And then here's what the future looks like for you.
Another $100.
Another $100 every year. Yeah.
All right. Shy. Hello.
Hi.
My tenant smoked inside the unit.
Oh.
I only found out when the smoke alarm rang. It's just like a story. I'm reading this like a story.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The contract stated no smoking inside.
Oh. Okay.
Obviously, he lied. Which I get it. The room smells awful for non-smokers. His 1-month contract will end today. Should I charge him for smoking inside? How much should I charge? And also, should I charge him to remove the smell, which he doesn't agree with because he said he can't smell it?
Can't you smell it?
Can't you smell it?
No, I can't.
No. No, I can't. Is it Dewey? Does it say Dewey?
Dewey. So, well, first off, let's address the issue of...
I don't think it's worth the aggravation. The guy's only been there a month.
Yeah, and unless your lease specifically says, you're going to be charged an amount for a violation, you can't just arbitrarily make up a number and say, I caught you smoking, give me $100.
Right. You almost got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this guy's been smoking. And I mean, what happens if he says, dude, I'm a terrible cook. That's what you smelled. I burnt the French toast, and that's why the alarm went off.
There is a way around this.
For the tenant or the landlord?
For the landlord.
Okay.
So instead of charging like a penalty, because that's tough, right? Again, how do you prove without beyond reasonable doubt that they actually did it?
Yeah. Smell it. Look at their
fingernails. Yeah.
Let me see your fingers.
Let me see your fingernails. But you're right. You're getting into like a gray area, right?
Yeah.
So again, first things first, make sure you're not doing anything outside of what your lease agreement says. So you can't just arbitrarily impose penalties and make numbers up. It has to be an agreed upon thing where the person says, okay, you want me to pay $100 to you if I violate the lease? Sounds good. I can agree to that. You both sign, which is a handshake or a legal binding, and all right, something happens. Now you can actually charge them. If you don't have that, you cannot just impose penalties and fees.
Right.
What you can do in this case is you charge for, beyond reasonable wear and tear if you have to repaint. And the way that you prove it is they have test like pH test kits that you put on.
No way.
Yeah, they have them for meth. They have them for cigarettes.
Are you? I never even heard of this.
Yeah.
Are you making? You're making this up.
I'm not making this up because the meth in the Midwest, there was past couple of years has been this, just huge meth, pandemic, endemic, whatever you call it, like, just this huge issue of people manufacturing, making meth. We see it from a background check company point of view, running people's background checks, and you see a lot of, manufacturing controlled substance and possession of controlled substance, those types of things.
Yeah.
So there was a landmark court case in the Midwest that a landlord, removed a tenant for having a meth lab in the home. Okay.
Yeah.
Landlord didn't think they were doing anything wrong. Turned the property over, put the new tenants in there. New tenants are in there. All of a sudden, they start getting real sick. And it was because of the chemicals that were in the walls.
It was in the paint, in the drywall.
Yep. So now they had developed this test kit that you can literally put up against the wall. Beep beep beep. Tells you.
You know what this thing is called?
A meth test kit. I don't know. I don't know what it's called beyond that. I'm pretty sure you can buy them on Amazon and stuff. Yeah.
We should get Josh to see if he can get in touch with like PPG.
Yeah. So if they have meth, it'd be great if you had like. I'm just thinking about this. If PPG, this is a great idea. PPG, kind of like the idea of like if you pee in a pool,
it turns a different color.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Don't say anymore. We got to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
We're gonna get some royalties on that one.
Patent this. Like if you smoke in the property, these walls are gonna turn blood red.
Or maybe you should start telling people that.
Yeah. Listen, don't smoke in here. If you smoke, this is special paint.
It changes color. Just like and again, refer to the peeing in the pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff really exists.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I won't.
That's it. We're retiring from RentPrep.
That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
So yeah, take a look and go on Amazon and then just stay tuned for PPG's new paint product that may come out.
Yeah.
With the little RentPrep logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay in control of your property.
If you do test the walls or whatever, I would make sure they know that too. And that's
it with them before you go in.
Yeah, it's a good deterrent when you're going in there. Beep beep. Hey, look, there's no contaminants in here.
I wonder if you could just do that with anything. Just take a strip of paper and just go in there and be like, all right, so this right here, this is a test strip we're going to show.
Yeah.
See how it stayed white?
Clear, yeah.
That means there's no contaminants on here. Don't let me come in here in 6 months from now and do the same thing, because if it turns any other color but white, that means you were smoking something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd say you want to be able to legitimately test it. But
right. Chew the gum.
If you have to...
Chew the Nicorette gum.
Tell them that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Say, listen, no smoking.
Well, you can smoke outside.
Chew the gum.
Smoke outside.
Right.
And if you do have them smoke outside, this is a good lesson for landlords too. You got to be really clear about what the rules are. So, where do you, right down to where do you put the cigarette butt?
Yeah.
If you're going to provide a can or something like that.
Yes. Don't have a Folgers can.
I was thinking of Folgers can. Yeah.
Do they still make metal Folgers? I don't think they do anymore.
Maybe not metal. It might be plastic now. But I was thinking of a metal Folgers can.
Get your hands on a metal Folgers can.
Yeah.
Get it, or an old paint can.
Yeah.
An old PPG paint can.
Yeah.
There you go. Fill it with a little bit of cat litter or something, and throw it in there.
But you want to be clear, because what you don't want is to have just cigarette butts all over the place, or you weren't clear about what outside really meant, so they're smoking in the vestibule or in the hallway, or hanging their head out their window. You know what I mean? You got to be clear and be like, no, you're outside, you're smoking here. This is where it's allowed.
Yeah.
Just got to be clear about it.
Or if I would do it, I would do it in the bathroom, just like in high school. But stand on the toilet and blow it into the fan. I mean, it'd probably be the best bet. It's gonna blow it out, and there you go.
What?
The ceiling fan.
Yeah, but you're gonna gunk up the ceiling fan then, No,
the fan just blows it out. I think it's not like creosote.
It's still going to be problems.
Not like creosote.
It does have a buildup.
It does, but that's only if it lingers.
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully we answered that question. Right?
Yeah.
Do they have edibles for cigarettes?
Ew.
You know how they have edibles for for cannabis now? So like, hey, listen, you can't smoke cannabis, but you can eat a brownie. You can't smoke a cigarette, but you can eat a cigarette brownie.
When I was a kid,
It give you the same aftertaste in your mouth too.
when I was a kid, my cousin would tell you that no, there's no such thing as edible, or at least they're not supposed to be. My cousin was one of those kids that got caught smoking, and so his dad made him eat the cigarette.
Oh man.
Yeah.
My cousin got caught smoking one time. They made her smoke the whole pack.
Yeah, I remember
I've
that
never
too.
seen somebody barf so much in my life. Like all the cousins were there. Like it was a family thing. They're like, "Come on over, Janine's smoking the pack." What?
I would go watch.
I caught her smoking cigarettes.
I would go watch.
Yeah. So the family came over, or we went over. We went over to Janine's house. Janine sat on the porch, and one after another. Her dad was an old school CO.
Yeah.
Real hard guy, and
See,
and
back
she
in the
just
day,
started barfing.
See,
nowadays, I think you get in trouble for that.
well, I was gonna say back in the day that was a legit punishment, right? Like that's how you would punish and deter somebody. Nowadays, that's just a TikTok video, and you're gonna get more followers. You know what I mean? Like there is no legit punishments anymore. I feel like, but yeah, no edible cigarettes just sound awful.
Yeah. Well, they had those candy ones. Remember back in the day?
Yeah,
they took those off the shelf because you can't have kids.
Yeah,
you were promoting that.
Promoting smoking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at that. I'm cool. I'm smoking. All right, Sam. So we have a question from Sam that says, "Hello, is the landlord responsible for the?" I always see because that drink I always get when we the bee's knees.
Oh yeah.
It's a great drink. It's called the Bee's Knees.
Bee's Knees, yeah.
Bee's Knees. It's like a lemon drink. But Sam wants to know, is he responsible for the bee's nest forming outside the balcony of the tenant? I mean, really, this is just a good landlord practice question. If you were asking me, like, if the tree falls down in the yard, is the tenant responsible? They didn't have anything to do with it. Well, I mean, you don't have anything to do with the bees. Personally, I would say, listen, I'm going to take care of it. I don't want the kids or you guys getting stung. I get it. It's not like they left food in the house and there's ants in the house. You know what I mean?
So you're dabbling in the right area in terms of determining who's responsible.
Sure. So is this the act of God law?
No, it's not the act of God law.
That's only for insurance.
That's usually insurance, right? No, this is, and also again, it's always a good idea to outline in your lease who's responsible for pest control, or what those responsibilities are.
Right.
So I don't remember if it was an AMA or if I just answered maybe an email question. I don't remember, but it wasn't that long ago. Mm-hmm. I remember someone had asked me a question about a raccoon infestation that the tenant clearly caused.
Yeah, I think that was the last AMA.
Yeah, they were like hoarding garbage and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a tenant's problem. That's their fault.
Right.
They caused an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get a bee's nest or something like that. Again, unless you have it in your lease, specifically stating that tenant is responsible to take care of that, that's really the landlord's responsibility to maintain habitable living. If something is infringing on that habitability, bees, pests, whatever, those types of things, it's your responsibility. So you got to, again, a pest addendum, pest control, to basically say like, hey, listen, there are certain things that I'll take care of, and then there are certain things that if they happen, you need to take care of because that means it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. General question from Cynthia. Cynthia says, I am a self-trained property manager for just a few residences. I live in one of them where the walls are paper thin, and in the summer all the doors and windows must be open without the AC. So I hear everything from next door. You ready for this?
I'm nervous, but yeah.
I recently learned about the law of quiet atmosphere / quiet enjoyment law. I would like to have the tenant move with this as a reason, but I'm also concerned of backlash. Every tenant in the complex has complained about their volume.
Yeah.
Could you recommend a way to deal with this? They are on a month-to-month lease since they've been here a long time.
Yeah.
So they've been there a long time. I wonder what they're hearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What type of noises? Like arguments or vacuuming?
Right. So
I just say start a paper trail. Start a paper trail of notices. Get signatures and receipts. You can't just go in there and be like, hey, time to go.
Right.
You know, you gotta at least, there's got to be a progression.
Yeah.
Um, you have to notify them. It may be as simple as hey man, yeah, listen, I know you're young, you guys are in love, whatever the case may be, but you got to keep the noise levels down a little bit.
Right. Right. I like that. I like your assumption there, what it could be.
Yeah.
So, okay, so a couple of thoughts here.
Mm-hmm.
What if you get these people out, somebody else comes in, and they're deemed to be noisy?
The walls are paper thin.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I feel like you might have to address a different issue here. So
Get some spray insulation.
Did she mention the windows and doors have to be open in the summer? Is that because there's no air conditioning?
Correct.
All right.
Get air conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe get a window unit.
But apparently nobody else is having. There's no issues with anybody else.
Yeah, but that might just be, you just might be fortunate that everyone
Right.
else is pretty quiet, you know. But again, you're really rolling the dice. There's no way to screen for somebody other than maybe talking to a past landlord. But maybe
I mean, again, I guess it comes down to what. It really comes down to, in my opinion, kind of what's going on there. Like, are they playing heavy metal music at 100 volume? Is that what the issue is?
yeah, is it control? If you tell them, hey, listen, you're really loud. Here's my thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you're really loud. I don't want to lose you as a tenant. You've been here a long time.
Right.
I know that we keep the doors and windows open in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to Walmart and get you $100 window unit.
Yeah.
Close your doors, close your windows.
Yeah.
And maybe consider putting some insulation in the walls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money. They blow it in. They use that blow stuff. If you can't do
I had
that,
it done at my house. I love it.
yeah. If you can't do that, then but I would at least communicate and say, hey,
Don't just try to kick them out on the law of quiet atmosphere, quiet enjoyment act.
yeah. Yeah, have communication. Listen, part of being a landlord or property manager, and this person says that they're a self-taught property manager, and so,
This is a learning moment.
yeah,
Communication.
You've gone through a lot of these, and this is another one where it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You are going to have plenty of uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of them.
I remember one of my first apartments. I lived on the third, and I think it was mid-afternoon. You know, me and my roommate having a little soiree that night, so we wanted to clean up. Maybe 2:00 in the afternoon, I was vacuuming.
Mm-hmm.
I get this pounding on the door. I thought it was the cops. I'm like, man, what is going on here? Is everything okay? It's the guy below me flipping out that I was vacuuming because he was trying to take a nap.
At 2 p.m.?
At 2 p.m. Well, yeah, he was trying to take a nap. And complained to management, said I was being noisy. I had to sit with management and say, listen, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I know everything's kind of thin here. I'm vacuuming.
Yeah, when do you want me to vacuum?
What do you want me to do?
At 2 in the morning?
Right. So then my roommate, when I was gone one day, I got a call from the cops. They're like, "Hey, Carlos, you gotta come back to the apartment. We have a situation." I was out of the Marines, so I had a buddy of mine on the force that recognized name. Like, you gotta come down here. I get there, big fiasco. My roommate decided to get back at the neighbor and take the subwoofer of the surround sound and tilt it facing down, and it was playing Biggie. And shook. This guy had decorative plates on the wall from Italy that shook off the wall and shattered, and we couldn't fight that. We got evicted.
Yeah,
And then
that makes sense. That you would get.
I'm still friends with that guy, but
Right.
we never lived together after that.
Right,
I'm like, what
right.
are you doing? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Guy was giving me problems. Midday, I'm cleaning the house. I'm turning my radio up. No, you don't.
Right.
But that was controlled.
Right.
Out of control, controlled.
Out of control. Yeah.
You know who that person was.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Knucklehead.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's got to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Quite
reasonable.
And quiet enjoyment. The question didn't specify. Typically, quiet enjoyment and noise ordinance are two different things.
Yeah.
Right. Quiet enjoyment is one thing. Noise ordinance usually start at a certain time of the evening. So, and I think, like in our area, noise ordinance start at 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So, not to say, you can just go crazy and go wild, but again, you might be I don't know. I feel like you gotta solve the issue here.
Yeah.
Not just swap it out for a potential new problem. Attack the issue from several different fronts of like, get the air conditioner, maybe blow some insulation in the walls. Do you feel like your home is more soundproof because
Oh
of the
man, hands
insulation?
down. Yeah,
So
hands down.
yeah.
We had just the exteriors.
Yeah.
We had the exterior walls done. They came in. They took a little bit of the siding off. They drilled like a 2 or 3 inch hole.
Yeah.
They stuck the hose in. It goes up,
Yeah.
comes down. And
Yeah.
then what they do is they either put the wood back in. However they cut it. They use that tool, that circular thing, and it just pops back in and they silicone it.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the back of the house, actually, what they did was they just literally took a circular saw, just went right across and cut a 2x4 strip, and then pulled the old insulation out, blew the new insulation in because we had that fiberglass stuff,
Yeah.
and then just put a whole new board up and tacked it in, and then just put the siding back on. But it
Yeah.
took a half day.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best investments I made next to my the new windows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it was definitely worth it. The
Mhm.
house is the temperature. Is
The
beautiful.
temperature, that stuff, but also
Everything.
sound
But
helps.
soundproof
Yeah.
was amazing.
So there you go.
You know, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Except for Grace.
Hmm.
Grace is next door. Grace is the loudest dog in the neighborhood, and right outside my bedroom window. And I'm always yelling, Grace! I got my 10-year-old saying it now. It's from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I asked, as a matter of fact, she just saw it the other day. Yeah, I think it was like on FX or something like that. So they bleeped out all the swear words.
Right.
So I'm like, you got to watch the show. And when Rooney was yelling for Grace on the phone, when the computer was changing, and he's like, Grace, Grace, it clicked, and she's
She knew
like,
where it was
is that
from.
where you got this from? I said, that's exactly where I got it from. So that was kind of cool how she made that connection there.
Love it.
I got one more question from John here. John had asked, he goes, when a tenant requests an early termination of the lease, what are some of the requirements needed in the lease termination document, and what are some pitfalls to look out for? As far as, what should be in that lease termination, I had A through G. Starting with the lease end date, then going to the reason for the termination if it's applicable, a copy of the lease, a request for the tenant's new address for forwarding the security deposit return, instructions on how to complete the move out process, a copy of the move in checklist form, and recommended dates and times for the final walkthrough inspection. I think all of those should actually be on the on that document. And then
Yeah.
I figured for you can answer, and what are some of the pitfalls to look out for?
I would say the one thing I hear a lot or get a lot of feedback on is tenants don't want to do the walkthrough in person.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they offer themselves to walk around with a camera or take pictures. So you can do that. They've got to take, I would say you got to give really clear instructions on what you want and take the videos, and then also let them know, I'm going to be doing the same.
Yeah.
And then in the lease, you may want to put something like, you'll agree that you'll do the final walkthrough in person. If not, here's how it's going to work. You take your pictures, I take mine, that sort of thing. Other than that,
or
I feel
designate certain, like when I did my insurance claim for the car, they actually told me exactly what pictures to take, angles and stuff like that. Do that, and then that way you can do the same thing and compare.
Right. Yeah, I would. Other than that, I feel like you covered everything on there. I mean,
I'm really rolling with this checklist stuff.
You really are. Yeah,
Got a lot better, huh?
Yeah. The checklists are...
I went from, you can ask anything you want.
Right.
So wait a minute, I got A through J now.
Yeah. I'm used to, every once in a while you throw me a crazy curve. I'd get nervous as I was listening to your answer and think, he's not going to say that. And then you would say it and I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay,
he said it.
We got to fix that. We don't want landlords doing that.
Sure. Sometimes I come from the uneducated landlord or property owner.
Well, you come from the other side of on the industry side of landlord support and running background checks. But then because of that, you also see some of the worst situations, right?
I do.
So,
yeah.
it's tough. It's tough. to be a landlord after knowing what you
Yeah.
know, what we see. It's
Have you ever heard of the Band-Aid theory?
like rip a Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last question from Katharina.
Okay.
So, what's the best way to tell a prospective tenant they cannot rent from you, and are you required to give a reason? My answer is be vague. Don't get into specifics unless you want a full-blown discussion. Band-Aid theory here. Just quick rip and move on. So, listen, you didn't. We found somebody that was a better fit for the apartment.
Better fit.
We appreciate your. We just found somebody better. Goodbye. That's where it's at.
We found a
Found a better fit for the property.
right, but this
Smell you later.
smell you later. This will only work if your area does local geographic area does not require a rule that would basically negate your strategy. So, for example, Portland, Oregon, you have to accept the tenant in the order that they applied. You can't take 10 applicants,
Right.
sift through, figure out which one. You got to go
sense.
boom, 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 one
Kind
at
of
a time.
like that in a sense, you know. Kind of.
Well, it makes it tough because you can't really say I went with somebody that's a better fit because you don't know yet. You don't have a better fit yet. You have to deny that person to move on to the next one. So you have to give them reason why you denied them.
Specific?
Yeah. So in that case, you just want to make sure you have really good screening criteria.
You're not a Kraken fan. Oh, that's Seattle.
Yeah, that's Seattle.
You're not a Blazers fan. Portland Blazers. They're a basketball team, I think.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
That's where Goonies was filmed.
Yeah, I know. Astoria.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say you know, I totally forgot what we were even talking about. I was just thinking of Goonies and Astoria.
I love Goonies. It's a great show.
Do you want to watch that?
I definitely want to watch it, but
like-
you need to watch 17 again first.
All right, fine. I'll watch 17 again. I feel like in the summertime, it's like,
Yeah.
now's the time to start watching the movies, Goonies and stuff.
What were we talking about? Hold on. You got to give a reason.
Oh, reason. Yeah, yeah. If you have really good screening criteria, it should be obvious why they didn't pass, right? Oh, you didn't meet my rent to income ratio. Your credit score didn't meet my minimum threshold.
Right.
Those types of things.
So in a situation like that, you can't go off of personality then. Because you're going to be I mean, if you think about it, you're working hand in hand with this individual. You can't really use that, in your decision-making process. Unfortunately, it's all got to be...
Yeah, unless you're owner occupied,
Right.
then personality is an issue, right? Like, we're not going to get along or whatever.
How
I
do you gauge
live
somebody's
here.
personality?
I think sometimes you know right away.
Yeah.
We are not going to get along. When I was doing for my sister, I was doing some showings and stuff, and I had this one husband wife came in. Maybe they were boyfriend girlfriend. I don't know. But they were a couple, and first off, they came in like bulls in a china shop, right? Like just kind of real rough and like slamming stuff. And I'm, right away I was kind of like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And I don't know. They rubbed me the wrong way in every way, right? The questions that they asked, the things that they said. I just, landlords know, like, good screening, really the perfect formula is 2 parts data, 1 part gut feeling. If those alarms start going off in your gut and you're like, no, this is a bad idea, you got to listen to that. But it's hard to deny somebody and say, I denied you because I had a bad gut feeling about you.
Sure.
Although,
That's just the icing on. You didn't meet the criteria.
Yeah.
And you stink.
yeah, and you stink.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Personality.
make sure that you're not in an area that requires anything like that, and that you can deny based on best fit.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Maxine Parker just jumped in.
All right, Maxine. Charge tenants for water bill when duplex only has 1 meter. Half to each, paid to owner plus rent. Can I do it that way? Most of the you can. I mean, most of the time, landlords cover the water.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty standard. If your tenants agree to do half and half, but you want to make sure that if that's the case, and in any event, even if you're covering it, be clear about how much water they can use.
Well,
right?
I was just gonna say, do you remember last AMA the landlord has said I cover the water bill, but the water bill came in, it was like $500
Yeah.
because they said that there was a leaky faucet
Yeah.
and they never reported it, and
Right.
for 2 months because it comes every other month.
Yeah.
But she said there was absolutely no way
Yeah.
that a leaky faucet did this. They're just taking long showers,
Yep.
leaving the water running.
Yep.
Maybe filled up the baby pool in the backyard.
So
So you got to be
Yeah.
specific if you're going to do this. You
Yeah.
know, I learned my lesson with that real quick with that one. I never even thought of that. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man,
Yep. Water beds, filling water beds.
oh that's
if
right,
they have a
water
bed.
beds.
But yeah, that's you want to be specific about like here's the threshold. If it's over this, it's coming
becomes
out
your
of
responsibility.
It's coming out of your pocket.
Right.
Yeah. So I would probably lean on that versus
But how do they split it? They only have 1 meter.
right. Well, she's saying they're just going to split it in half and half. But what if? But to our point, like okay, you're going to split it half and half. But what if they go out and
What if half A used all the water and half B is like, dude,
right? Yeah, you ran the water bill up 500, and now I got to pay this
$250?
half.
I'm
right.
not doing that.
Yeah, so my my suggestion would be you cover the water bill
How
up to a certain point.
How hard would it be for having the water company come in? You just got to have 2 completely separate systems then, right?
Yeah,
How are they running off of 1 meter?
that's pretty normal.
Really?
Yeah, that's not crazy.
If they have 2 water tanks, they have 1 main water line coming in.
you have one main water line coming in.
I wonder how hard it would be to put a second meter in. Just call the the water company and just get quoted. That might be the best bet. Just say we need 2 meters up in this.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, I would say it. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't say how much that would cost. I have no idea. But
That's what I'm saying. Give them a call. See
yeah,
what's up.
if they were like, it's $50, or we'll do it for free. I don't know. Then yeah, you do that. Right? That makes sense. But if not, I would say be clear on how much water is reasonable and what they can use, and
Right.
and then
Anything exceeding $100 becomes tenant responsibility, and it's a 50-50 split.
right. Yeah, just want to make sure, like you said, they're not out there filling baby pools.
I don't know if I would do that if I was a tenant. And I'd be like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I got to split 50-50 no matter how much I use with the dude next door to me?
Yeah, because the tenant could look. I didn't even think about that, but you're 100% right. The tenent could see it from the other opposite
I
way
wouldn't
too,
do it.
and
I'd be
say,
like, no, sorry, dude. How is it not separate? I am not.
yeah,
Because now you're marrying the two when
Right.
it comes to the water.
right. Yeah, so
I mean, where does it stop? Why don't we just do it with the electric, the cable? Well, you remember you used to do it with the cable, you used to do it with the splitters?
splitters on a cable. Now everyone's sharing Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would take a look at what the bills.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, what the bills have been historically, and set that as kind of like set a threshold and say, yep, this is what it is, and if it goes over this, you're paying the overage.
Yeah.
That's pretty reasonable.
Maxine, I hope that answered your question. I know
Yeah.
we get off on tangents sometimes, but just how we are.
Yeah. So yeah, figure out what the threshold is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything, unless you had anything you wanted to add.
No, just remember PPG,
PPG.
Sherwin-Williams. Do we still have? We
I
have
don't
both,
know.
right?
I don't know.
All right, one or the other or both. I don't know, but
I'm just going PPG.
that's the one we're promoting today because that's the new one, and so yeah, let's push just the PPG. Plus, it's a huge discount.
Yeah, is that a typo, Josh? 40 to 60 off?
Yeah, that seems.
I mean, I almost feel like Josh put an extra 0 in there. Or...
All right, we're gonna get in trouble by PPG now.
Josh is, not me. I'm just reading what he told me to write.
Yeah. So yeah,
we have both.
We have both. All right, check out both. We know that they use them a lot because Sherwin-Williams came to us and said, "We don't know how you got a national
coupon
code for anywhere in the country because they thought like we were only giving it to local or whatever."
Yeah.
But no, years ago we worked out a deal with Sherwin-Williams, like headquarters or corporate or whatever, and it was awesome to see that tons and tons of landlords in our community are using that code.
I don't know the difference between the paints. I get
Quality.
I get high anxiety when I go into the paint section of Home Depot, and I'm like, listen, I need this color. You have walls of paints,
Yeah.
and they're all white. So, and you do the mixture anyways. So, what's going on here? There's Behr, there's PPG, the Sherman-Williams.
Yeah.
Was DuPont one of them?
Yeah,
Back in the day?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure. Well, I think it depends on what you like. Okay, you got a little kid. You want
they should
one.
come out with like a Home Depot brand, like Wegmans got their like Wegmans Foods, and
Yeah, I don't think Home Depot has their own brand of anything, do they? You don't see like Home Depot brand tools.
I think Rigid.
Is Home Depot's? They own that.
Because you can't go to Lowe's to get Rigid. You have to get Ryobi.
Yeah.
You won't see Ryobi at Home Depot.
That just might be like exclusive.
And they got the same colors.
Oh.
Rigid's got the same colors. The orange and the black.
Oh, that's true.
What is the discount code for a Sherwin-Williams paint? Josh, if you could answer that, that'd be great. That's a great question. I don't even know why that didn't even come up. That's a great question, Maxine. I mean, if we got the two,
yeah,
they're both the same quality. Obviously, we're going to go for the higher discount.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually how you select paint. You know, what do you need it for? Is it going to be for a kid's room? Do you need it to be resistant to drawing? You need it to be washable? Those type of things.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right.
One more Sabres game left. That's tomorrow. RJ's last call for those of you who are local.
Yeah.
I'm going to the game. If you see me, don't be afraid to say hi. I'll sign an autograph, take a picture with you.
It's a big season for sports all around. You got the NFL draft. You've got the NHL draft lottery. Then the draft. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Vegas, I think Joe told me Vegas is out.
Yeah. Yeah, they were
Vegas is out.
mathematically eliminated.
We got their draft pick.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good next year.
Yeah.
So, Bandits game on Saturday. I'm going to that. Lacrosse. That's going to be awesome. Pretty pumped about that. Allie's going. She got a tattoo of the Bandits on her arm. She's a Bandits fan. Like, she has the actual logo tattooed, I think, either on her bicep or the inside or the outside.
That's pretty hardcore.
She's hardcore.
One of our screeners here, obviously a lacrosse fan.
Yeah, you look at her, you'd never think in a million years you don't have to play to be a fan, I guess.
I could see her screaming like at the fights and
going with her face painted.
Yeah.
I'm going to see. I can't wait to see her there. It's going to be cool. I'm bringing the family. It's going to be the family's first time. So, all right, guys, thanks again for stopping out. Take a look at those paint discounts, and we'll see you next month.
Yep. See you guys.
Cool.